Hey, everybody, we're here with Joe Pinion, one of my favorites right here. He's the former U.S. Senate candidate who ran against Chuck Schumer and just ran a little short on winning the race for U.S. Senator. And he's a former former Newsmax commentator. We want Joe to talk about what's happening here in New York. Can you first tell everybody pretty much what you've been up to lately? Because there's a lot of people here in New York that have no idea what you've been up to. And do you have any plans for the future?
Well, yeah, certainly. Well, obviously great to join my friends from West New York and the True Blue family. And yeah, I think after the election, it was, a bittersweet experience. Obviously, anytime you're fortunate enough to be able to be the standard bearer for the party, to be able to take the fight to those who disagree with us on our commitment to freedom, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all the amendments, really. It's a good day to be a New Yorker, a proud day to be a New Yorker. And so somewhere right now, my mother's still running around talking about my son got 2.5 million votes. But as a reminder, if you can't get the 50%, you don't get to go to D.C. So again, grateful to the people of New York that cast their vote in our name, in the name of our values, took some time off, took a vacation, and now back at it, trying to be where we need to be to spread the message about the problems facing this country, the problems facing New York State. And so I've been doing a lot of cable news commentary from Fox News, Fox Business, even a little bit of CNN.
I saw that.
Because I think at the end of the day, what people forget is that when you look at 2022, yes, we had nearly presidential level turnout from Republicans, but the worst performing group of voters in the state were independents. Less than 40% of independents showed up to vote in this midterm, 37%. And if you look at the polling numbers and recognize that they were some of the most disenfranchised and disgruntled voters in the state, and our inability to get them to show up in the name of our message is a real problem. And so moving forward, we have to find ways to get outside the tent, to get outside our comfort zone, to go where we might not necessarily always get a warm reception, but certainly where our values and our principles are in dire need and can be of great service.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yep.
So do you have what are your plans for the future? You plan on running it again or anything like that, or just
well look, I often say, look, I didn't have 2022 circled on my life plan as when I was going to try to run against Charles Ellis Schumer, a man who'd been in DC for 42 years, 24 years in the Senate. It was just one of those things where, God's plan for my life led to me being in the right place at the right time. But we believed that we could, be able to clear the field and have a message that would resonate with a great deal of New Yorkers. And so in that regard, I think we were correct. And I think moving forward, certainly open to whatever opportunities present, wherever I can be of service to my state, to my community, and to my country. But again, really focusing on spending some time to reconnect with the family, make sure my dog remembers that there was somebody that rescued him once upon a time. And so, doing that work. And again, whatever opportunities present themselves, obviously there's a Senate race this coming cycle. There'll be Senate races in the future. Whatever opportunities may present themselves where we think that, where I am, where my family is, combined with where the country is, if there is alignment, then most assuredly we'll be willing to put our name forth. And again, trust in the people of New York State, the people of Western New York, who understand now more so than they did when I began this journey back on the 17th of January of 2022, that they can put their trust in our vote and know that we're going to be able to stand tall and stand consistent for what they believe in.
I saw that video of you on CNN, and not for nothing, but how did you do that? How were you able to get on her? Not for nothing, but
Well, look, I think, slowly but surely, I think all the major networks are starting to realize that you can only preach to the choir but so much, that at some point, when you're looking at the levels of record inflation that we're experiencing, when you're looking at the fact that we have had, again, great pain on Main Street, as I keep reminding people, over 500,000 Americans over 60 days delinquent on their car payments and counting. That is not, in many ways, a legacy of success. Those are individuals who have been struggling and have been neglected by this Biden administration. So I think that as we heat up for this presidential cycle, President Biden announcing yesterday that he was going to throw his hat back into the ring again at the tender age of 80 years old to try to lead this country for 4 more years after the disastrous 2.5 years we've experienced. There are a lot of networks thinking we need to have a different chorus of voices. Because if ever there was a watershed moment in this country, I think it's going to be this cycle.
All right.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. I don't know if John's got any questions he wants to ask, but
I got one question.
All right, go ahead. But
why do you think only 37% of independent voters voted? What do you think the issue is there?
Well, look, I think a few things. Number one, I think the Republicans have done a poor job getting what I call outside of the chorus, right? Getting outside of the tent, taking our message to places where, again, we have not always had a warm reception. I remind people that if the Republican Party could find a way to get, no less than, 20% of the African-American community to vote for us, Democrats couldn't win another election. They couldn't win another federal election. They couldn't win another statewide election in New York State. It would be impossible. And so, with the bar, being relatively speaking that low, the fact that we haven't committed our time, our resources, and our principles to moving the needle there is in some ways disgraceful. And so I think if you look at that for what's happening with independents, I think independents feel the way all people do, but I think even more so, those people who have taken the time to step outside of both parties, they recognize that neither party is serving their needs. When you look at New York State, 60% of our children not reading at grade level statewide. You're looking at places like Rochester, where we have more murder per capita than Chicago, Illinois. That is not a real legacy of success. So we've got real problems. We've got real issues. And I think at the end of the day, there are individuals who just recognize that, hey, you know what? My solution to all this is going to be, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to say to heck with all of them. And I'm going to focus on trying to raise my family. And, on some basic levels, that hurts themselves. But certainly, if we recognize that our principles can help carry the day and help turn things around, it hurts us the most, because obviously we haven't done the work necessary to make sure that they feel comfortable showing up, showing out, and turning the state and this country around.
Right. I was wondering if maybe it was such a low number because a lot of independents actually changed their party status and went Republican.
No. So I mean, the premise basically is, we look at the numbers, right? How many registered Republicans show up? How many registered Democrats show up? And then in New York State, technically speaking, we don't really have independents, right? We have what we call unaffiliated voters, blank voters, people who are not a member of either party. And that number was shockingly low, even by midterm standards. So I think for a multitude of reasons, we didn't expend the resources and we didn't necessarily have the infrastructure in place to be able to get in touch with those voters that weren't showing up at the True Blue events, that weren't showing up at the Mounds for Liberty events, that weren't necessarily engaged with the frontline workers trying to make sure that they could get their livelihoods back after they were drummed out of the workforce via mandates sent down by government that they had no legal authority to put in place. And I think that, yes, all those people showed up in record numbers. But what about the people who don't love the Democratic Party, don't particularly love the Republican Party, who are just trying to live their New York existence, who are trying to fulfill their American dream and are tired of the prospect of having to flee their home in order to do so? And I think that we didn't necessarily get enough of those people involved. Involved is not just sending them a mailer and saying, vote for us. Involved means showing up and saying, hey, we're going to be doing this open house. Hey, we're coming to a public housing authority near you. We're coming to a police athletic league near you. We have to be willing to roll up our sleeves, do the unseen work in communities that, again, typically don't hear from Republicans And as a result of them not hearing from us, all they hear about us is what the other side tells us, tells them that we are, right? Which is a gross distortion of the values and the principles that we actually truly believe in.
Exactly. That was a great answer. Thank you. Thank you. That was a really good answer. So, perfect. That cleared it up.
Let me ask you this. So as far as like the smash and grabs, you've heard of them, correct?
Of course.
All right. What is your opinion on that? The smash and grab that's going on to these young kids that are stealing the Kias and the what are they? Kias and the what are the other vehicles?
Honda.
Oh, the Kias and it's another one. Hondas. The Kias and the Hondas.
Right.
So these young kids that are underage, they're stealing these vehicles. They're doing the smash and grabs. What's your opinion on it? I mean, how do you think that something like that can be fixed?
I mean, it's both disgusting and also demoralizing and just sad across the board, right? Because at the core of this, right, it's very easy to just beat up on the crime, right? But at the core of this, we have a generation that is lost, right? We have young people who are destroying their future before it's begun because the people that we have entrusted to set the parameters for them to be able to become the best version of themselves have failed them. Again, you look across the state, I mean, 60% of our children do not read at grade level, right? The report that came out last year said that in New York City, 75% of minority students can't do math at grade level. 75%, right? So 25% of the kids know what they're supposed to know. The rest of them don't, right? It's unconscionable what is happening in our schools, right? And so I've often said, right, that I truly believe we do have what I call a three-strand cord of despair in this country, right? We have a lack of educational opportunity, which keeps people in a cycle of poverty, the poverty which drives the crime, and the crime which leads to communities being decimated, trapped in a cocoon of fear and violence. And so, yes, I was just 2 days ago, I was at Walgreens. I went there to get a Gatorade, and next thing I know, somebody has walked in behind me. They've grabbed two containers of Milano cookies and a 6-pack of beer, and they're walking out the door. And literally at the front, you hear about it all the time, but to actually watch it happen in real time, I mean, I got to tell you, it's a surreal experience. And the people at the front, I could hear them. They say, "Oh, it's that same guy again." And then the other person saying, "Who left the beer unlocked?" Right? You're supposed to keep that cooler locked. So, again, the problem is that you have all these stores who now have to start profiling the customers while also basically keeping everything under lock and key, from the beer to the toothpaste to the lotion. So it's a really bad situation. It destroys quality of life, but also the unseen damage, it destroys trust, right? And what does it do to a community when all of a sudden somebody walks through your door to patronize your business and your first thought is not how I can help this person, not how I can deliver the best service and make sure they have a wonderful experience, but to say, is this person going to steal from me? Is this person a real customer or a criminal? And having that type of jaundiced eye towards your neighbor is really a destructive thing that's happening in society. And so this is what happens when you elevate the needs of the criminal over our safety and security for the common man, when you've decided that you're going to have this permissive attitude with crime and with criminality, bad things happen to people, right? With the crime, with the shootings, with the killings, with the robbings, but also there's a hidden damage as well, the lack of trust, the erosion of community that happens one theft at a time, one robbery at a time, where all of a sudden now you're looking at your neighbor as if, of course, they're not here to do me anything good. They're clearly here to do me anything harm. And so we shouldn't be surprised when we see all of a sudden people getting shot, showing up in the wrong driveway, because we've decided that every single person that we don't know is immediately a threat. And I think that that is the thread that has not been connected, but we need to start connecting it for our friends and our neighbors, that this fear that you feel, whether it's rational or irrational, right? It all starts with the fact that when you can't trust the people who are supposed to stop crime to enforce the law, we are forced in our own mind to address everyone that we don't know as if they have some type of nefarious intent.
Do you think that a lot of it might have to do with community, bringing community together, and not so much just on technology with the phones and this and that, social media, but bringing community together to more or less learn about each other and be friends and be neighbors and stuff like that. Do you think that's a problem also or not?
Well, look, I mean, the kind of, Pandora's box has been opened. I don't know if we can ever truly go back, but there's certainly things that we need to be mindful of. I think when you look at even the things that we've experienced with the shootings in the schools and the bullying, go back to, I'm an 80s baby, right? If you just were tired of being bullied, an easy way to escape the bullying was to stay home. Now, the bully can find you wherever you live, even if you don't go to school. They can find you on Facebook. They can find you on TikTok. They can find you on social media, right? They can find you in the metaverse. So there is an unceasing intensity to these types of activities that we know lead to mental anguish for our young people. And again, if you recognize that we used to live in a world where you had to actually enter the world in order to learn about the world. And now every single 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 12-year-old, 18-year-old has a device in their pocket more powerful than the computers that sent the first man to Mars. And it has the ability to pretty much reach anybody and learn anything. Then yes, the nature of how we engage with one another in society has changed in dramatic ways. So I think that, again, we need to figure out how do we partner with that technology to institute some of the forgotten values that we used to have, some of the forgotten, I would call it just decency that we used to exhibit towards our friends and our neighbors. And I think we also need to recognize that the technology is having a tremendous transformative impact on every single aspect of our lives, how our children are learning, also becoming a chief culprit for them not learning, right? So every tool that we have in life can be a blessing or a curse. It is up to us to use those tools efficiently and effectively. And that means whether we're talking about our right to bear arms or whether we're talking about our responsibility to make sure that the technology that we have at our disposal doesn't actually have a negative impact on our children and on our communities.
Hey, you're so knowledgeable about stuff. It's crazy.
He is too, isn't he? Yeah.
John, do you have any other questions? I know. Joe has a busy night. He has a busy night and stuff. So I know.
Yeah, I know. One more thing. I really don't have a question, but as you were just talking about the people stealing cars and stuff like that, or Joe, like you said about the story, you watched it in live time happen. Home Depot, Lowe's, I'm a contractor. So Home Depot, Lowe's, I've seen it in both places. People walk in, they pretend like they're shopping. They grab something that's big, like a whole tool kit, a combo kit,
Yep.
They walk right out the door, and the Lowe's employees are not allowed to chase after them. Once they go out the door, that's it.
Yep.
So how many people have been doing that? It's like I've seen it numerous times myself. It's sickening, Them toolkits are $700, $800, $900, and everybody just watches them walk right out the door.
And they're locking them up. They're locking them up. They're actually locking up everything.
They are now.
Everything's locked up. I'll make this real quick. But in Gates, New York, I go in there 3 to 5 times a week.
Wow.
And I talk to the people. They have a camera system outside. They have a camera right in the middle of the parking lot. And they say they still can't do nothing about it. They watch them walk out the door. They just watch them walk out. They can't do nothing.
No,
crazy.
They can't do nothing.
No.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and now, some of these shows, these stores, Home Depot and Lowe's, they're actually putting kill switches in the machinery, right? So the drills, the saws, right? And if you haven't actually gotten it deactivated, you'll walk out the door with an $800 piece of machinery, but it won't work, right? And so look, we're all paying the cost. We're paying the cost of convenience. We're paying the cost because the manufacturers are passing on that loss to us, the consumer, right? The Home Depot says, well, if we're going to end up having to, sell 30 saws now instead of 20 to pay for the 10 that are stolen, right? Who pays that price? You pay that price. Your family pays that price, right? When you go to build a new house, you're paying the price, right? When you're going to make, updates to your home, you're paying the price. So, just because they're not stealing from you directly doesn't mean that you don't end up being stolen from long term. So again, we are all connected in this. It's the fabric of our communities. It's the circle of life, as they say in The Lion King. But at the end of the day, all of this comes back to a core responsibility of our elected officials to hold those who betray the public trust and break the social contract accountable. And this lack of accountability that we've seen, whether we're talking about Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, or whether we're just seeing people all across the state and the country who have basically given up on this, right? Fentanyl, which you haven't even talked about, right? Still streaming into this country, devastating lives all over Western New York, all over this country. And the administration refuses to even acknowledge the depth of this problem, that they don't even want to acknowledge the depth of the migrant crime issue that, according to Mayor Adams here in New York City, has cost the city, north of $10 billion and counting. Projected to cost over $30 billion. And their solution is not secure the border. Their solution is, hey, President Biden, won't you allow these migrants to go and work? Which defeats the purpose, because if we don't secure the border and everyone who's trying to come to the border now knows they can come to New York City and get a 9 to 5 and work legally in this country, even though they have come to the country illegally, all that's going to do is accelerate the rate of people coming here, which is already set to accelerate because we're going to have the expiration of the stay in Mexico policy put in place by President Trump. So long story short, we've got big trouble here at home. We've got real problems. And the people that are supposed to be solving these problems, they don't seem to take them seriously.
Right. 100% true. As a matter of fact, you talk about the illegals coming to work. I just did some videos a couple months ago. I would follow them around from motel to motel to motel and job sites and video them, put it on Facebook. And there's a lot of illegals working here. Legally, they're working here legally, but they're illegal.
Right. Well, it's crazy. And I was at the Moms for Liberty conference in Wayne County last week, and shout out to the Moms for Liberty. But I think one of the things that I told them that I think is truly important is that there's so many people that feel hopeless, right? That they see the people who are here illegally, working illegally while they're struggling to take care of their families. They think there's nothing they can do. That they're seeing the egregious materials that are being put in the faces of our children by these schools and these school boards, and they feel there's nothing they can do. As somebody who's worked in journalism, you'd be surprised how useful just being able to document what is happening in your local community can be. Right, the ability to be able to show time after time, county by county, city by city, these parents are not crazy. They are not inventing this alternative reality. They are having pornographic material in the classrooms. Here are the videos of that material. Here are the videos of the parents being prevented from reading materials at a PTA meeting that is actually being taught to their children. So anytime that we can show these things in actuality to people who want to deny reality, we will have the upper hand. It is an invaluable resource for people who are trying to cover these things. So again, you might feel hopeless, but when in doubt, take out that iPhone, take out that Android, record what your children are being taught, document what they're being sent home with, show people what's happening in your communities, whether it's the crime, whether it's the migrant crisis, whether it's the drug crisis. The power is quite literally in your hand, or most likely in your pocket. Seize it, embrace it, and together we can turn things around.
Start opening up, start speaking out. When you see something, speak out about it.
See something, say something. It actually does work. You just have to make sure that you're not just saying something. You actually have proof of the thing that you're saying actually happening.
Right. Yep.
Hey, Joe, It was great having you on. I'll tell you what, tell people, how can they reach out what you're doing? How can they find you on social media or?
Well, look, we're getting ready to do a big rebrand, and got some exciting things coming up. But they can always go to joepinion.com, send us a message. Go to info@joepinion.com, email us. They can find me on Twitter, Joseph Pinion, one word. Also find me on Facebook. You can find me on Getter or Truth, Joe Pinion, one word. So we're here. We're engaged in the fight. The empire will rise again, but it's not going to rise by itself. We've got to do the work, and just grateful to you guys for continuing to push the message and to spread the word that all is not lost, and that New York truly can be and remain a wonderful place for people to raise a family.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, Joe. And we'll talk again soon. Love you, man. Get
Love you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. Nice seeing you.
Go get 'em.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks.
He doesn't want to leave us.
He doesn't want to leave.
I
know. I know he's got.
See, now I'm the one having the technology problems. So
yeah.
Well, you know what I'll do? I'll just send this video. It was great, and I'll upload it on YouTube tomorrow, and on Rumble. So Joe's a great guy, man. He's so freaking smart. He knows exactly what's going on, and we push for him hard.
Yeah, no, Joe knows what's going on. He's been in the circle for a long time. He's very smart. He sees everything. He sees all the angles. He sees it all. It's just a matter of he needs people to help him do it, 2.5 million votes he got. That's a pretty good amount of votes for the first time running for that seat, right?
But I'll tell you something. I don't trust them numbers. I don't trust any numbers. You know that.
Don't trust any of them.
I don't trust any of them. It could have been a lot more. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I bet you it probably was a lot more, like I know there's other people that got a lot more votes too. I could feel it in my heart. Everybody talked about it and, just came up short. A lot of people.
That's what I say. They just came up short. But
yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
it's a whole different story. We had Marley Hornick on talking. We'll find out. Hopefully the truth comes out. Everything comes out. Everybody understands exactly.
It'll come out. It'll come out eventually. It's like everybody, even like Joe, like Mike Carpinelli, there's numerous people. Everybody that spoke out against something really didn't win anything. That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah. You're not like the George Carlin thing. You're not in the big club. If you're not in the big club, even Joe Pinion, I don't think he was in the big club. And I don't think the Republican Party supported him enough. I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
What I've seen, they could have, but he wasn't playing ball with them because because he's for the Constitution, people's rights.
Yeah, that's
what I mean. Once you start going up that ladder,
you get almost to the top rung, they're going to throw you right back down the ladder.
Yep.
It's a shame that we got to change that somehow. I bet if we all went back to, not mail-in voting, but, show up in person, show a driver's license. You know what I mean? That's what needs to be done. Like, get rid of these Dominion machines. These Dominion machines are garbage.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, yeah, because they're hooked up to the internet when they say they're not. They are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a whole other rabbit hole. That's a whole other thing. But
yeah, that's a whole other segment. Yeah. That's a whole other. They're hooked up to China.
So the thing is, I could have sat there and talked to Joe Pinion for another half hour. Or so.
Yeah, me too. I love listening to him talk. He's very smart. He like you said, he knows exactly what's going on and where it's going on. He certainly does. That was a good show. Good show.
We have John Salka on next Wednesday, but you know more about you know more about him, so just let people know what he's about a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know that much about him. Like I said, I've been to a few meetings with him. He's a great guy. He's for the Constitution. He's for 2A. He's for freedom. He was very supportive of Gina, the attorney we had on here a couple weeks ago. They're all good friends, and I think he's a great guy. He'll be a good fit for the show next week. He'll have a lot to say too. He's very smart, very, very intelligent. He knows what's going on, just like Joe. And it's just these bigger guys need our help. You know what I mean? To get going on stuff.
But he was an assemblyman.
He's assemblyman. Yep.
He was formerly, but now he's supporting Brendan. What's his name? Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon Williams.
Because he won the U.S. Congress. He's supporting him. I mean, I've seen some of Brandon. I've seen some of his videos talking about stuff. He seems like a good guy, but I don't know him either.
Well, I haven't met him, but I'll tell you what, he's coming to the place I'm remodeling now, Awesome Country Farmhouse in Boonville, New York. Brandon Williams will be there Monday at noon for lunch. The Republican Party, which I'm part of, the Boonville Republican Party, I got to be there for that luncheon as well. So I'm going to meet him on Monday in person, and I'll probably video the whole thing, and maybe we could put it on here.
Yeah.
Or something. I'll send it to you. You can put it on, or we'll figure it out. But I've heard a lot of good things about him for sure. Yep. Maybe we can get him on. I'll talk to him Monday.
Cool. Or yeah. Exactly.
All right, buddy.
I think we're pretty much done. This way, it doesn't take me forever to upload this stuff onto YouTube.
Right.
The longer it is, it's like 3.
Yep. But good video. I'll be in touch, and have a great night.
All right, everybody have a good night. We'll see you next Wednesday if I don't throw another crazy video out in between or John does.
I'm sure you will.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Night,
See you
everybody.
later.
All right, we'll see you.